Northern Europe, and it was built for just one purpose: to house the bones of the three kings. And they're inside this golden shrine, perhaps the only relics of people who actually knew Jesus. I've been in search of the three kings for years. Usually I work with mummies. Relics aren't my thing. But the bones in this shrine are different. They could just be the real deal. Before this show's over, I'll show you something about the bones of the three kings that no one's ever seen before. We'll be back here, but first we have to see what we really know about the three kings. Their image is on millions of Christmas cards. We see them kneeling, reverently, before the baby Jesus, offering their gifts. But most of what we think we know about them isn't in the Bible. It's urban myth, added much later. Come with me to my local card shop, and I'll show you what I mean. No, won't do. Here, look at this one. Yeah, this will be good. What's on the card that's not in the Bible? The crowns. The Bible doesn't say they were kings. That was added later. And the comet. Most astronomers agree the kings weren't following a comet. They weren't even following a star. But we'll talk about that later. Let's keep going. No. Here, look at this. The camels are good. The three kings almost certainly came by camel. But you know what? The Bible doesn't even say there were three. Let's see what it does say. In the Bible, there are 4 versions of the life of Christ, the 4 Gospels. But the three kings are only mentioned in one, the Gospel of St. Matthew. The earliest copy of the Gospel of St. Matthew is here in Magdalen College, Oxford. It's just a few fragments bought by a tourist in Egypt in 1901. But scholars now believe that they were written within living memory of Jesus. So the story of the three kings is one of the earliest Christian accounts we have. Their story is given only a few lines in Matthew's Gospel. Wise men, following a star, came from the east to Jerusalem and asked its ruler Herod the Great, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews?" Herod sent them to Bethlehem, where they offered gifts of myrrh, frankincense, and gold. And then they disappeared, as mysteriously as they appeared. We know them as Balthazar, Melchior, and Gaspar. But that's not in the Bible either. The Bible doesn't even say there were 3 of them. Everyone assumes that, because they brought 3 gifts. Nor does the Bible say what country they came from. It just says, "There came wise men from the east, saying, 'Where is he that is born King of the Jews?'" But we may be able to figure out where they came from. The big clue is the word the Bible originally uses to describe them: Magi. Now, Magi is a Persian word. It's not Greek like the rest of the Gospel. And it means Persian priest, a follower of the ancient religion of Zoroaster. So to find out more about the three kings, we need to go to Persia, modern Iran. This flame has been burning for 2,000 years. It has never been allowed to go out. It's a Zoroastrian shrine, one of the few left from the time of the three kings. The Zoroastrians believed, just like the Jews, in the coming of a Messiah, whose virgin birth would be heralded by a star. So the Magi were looking for a star and expected it to lead them to a Messiah. There's another clue that ties our three kings to ancient Persia. This 6th century mural in Ravenna, Italy, is one of the earliest examples of Christian art, and it shows the three kings. See what they're wearing? Pointed hats, tunics, and trousers. That's another clue. Remember it. You'll see it again. This is ancient Persia's most famous archaeological site. the palace complex of Persepolis. It's ruined, but it gives us one more clue to the origin of the three kings. And that clue is here, on the great east staircase leading to the heart of the palace. Here the Persians depicted the different people within their empire. But what I'm after is up here, the Parthians. The reason I'm interested in them is that the Parthians conquered Persia, and by the time Christ was born, were firmly in charge of the country. See what they're wearing? Trousers. No one wore trousers in the ancient Middle East except the Parthians. So if the three kings were from Persia, this is how they would have dressed, in tunics, trousers, and pointed hats, just like the depiction of the three kings in Ravenna. So we can make an educated guess that the three kings came from Persia. Now let's figure out when they visited the infant Jesus. To figure that out, we need to know when Jesus was born. So what year was Jesus born? It's not what you think, and it's all the fault of a monk named Dionysius. He was asked to construct a new Christian calendar to replace the Roman pagan one. Dionysius, a good Christian, decided to start his new calendar with the birth of Christ. He thought he knew when Christ was born, but unfortunately, Dionysius was a lousy mathematician and made mistakes. He based his calculations on the number of years each Roman emperor reigned. Now, here's a standard list of the Roman emperors, kind of like what Dionysius could have used. Now remember, he's counting back from emperor to emperor to emperor, adding up their reigns to get to the birth of Christ. Now the problem occurs right here with Augustus. It's during his reign that Christ is born. Now look at the years he reigned. 31 BC to 14 AD. Remember that. Now I'm just going to turn the page. Same Augustus, but look at the dates. 27 BC to 14 AD. We've lost 4 years. How did that happen? Well, during the first 4 years of his reign, Augustus ruled under his given name, Octavian. And Dionysius, when he was doing his calculations, forgot those 4 years. So his calendar is 4 years off. But he made another major error. He forgot the year zero. Now, think about it. Remember our millennium? We went from the year 1999 to the year 2000, and the next year was 2001. Now, when Dionysius did his calculations, he went from the year 1 BC, before Christ, to 1 AD, the year after the birth of Christ. He should have had the year zero, but he forgot it. So his calculation is now 5 years off, and we've been living with that mistake ever since. That means our millennium celebration in 2000 should have been in 1995. We missed it. And Jesus was born around 5 or 6 BC. Okay, now we've got the correct year. But what about the actual day Jesus was born? By the time Dionysius was writing his calendar, the exact date had been long forgotten. So the church adopted a convenient Roman midwinter celebration, the birth of the sun god Sol Invictus, that fell on December 25th. It has nothing to do with the actual birth date of Jesus, but that's why we celebrate Christmas on December 25th. So how do we figure out the real date of Jesus' birth? If we want to calculate Jesus' actual birth date, we have to go back to our three kings, who sometime around 5 or 6 BC were following a star. We need to find out when there was a star that behaved like the Star of Bethlehem. Remember what the Bible says? Our 3 wise men from the east saw the star announcing Christ's birth that led them to Herod's court in Jerusalem. Now, if we can find out when, around 5 or 6 BC, such a star appeared, we can pinpoint Jesus' birth date. The Bible tells us this star wasn't visible to them all the time. It reappears as they leave Jerusalem and head south the few miles to Bethlehem. And lo, the star went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. So the star we're looking for leads the three kings from ancient Persia to Jerusalem, then disappears, only to reappear again in the south, leading them to Bethlehem. What kind of star could do that? For centuries, people have been trying to figure out what guided the three kings. But no one has come up with a theory that fits the Bible's description. Until now, let me introduce you to the man who has just solved the problem. The solution to the mystery of the Star of Bethlehem begins with this coin. It's Roman and shows a ram looking back at a star, and started Professor Michael Molnar, he's the one on the right, an astronomer at Rutgers University, on the trail of the three kings. Now, Professor Molnar is not only a professional astronomer, but also an expert on ancient astrology, the idea that the position of the stars and planets above influence human activity below. Molnar knew that ancient astrologers associated the sign of Aries the ram with Judea. This coin got Molnar thinking, what event in the sky, in the sign of the ram, could the three kings have seen? Mike, can you show me what the three kings would have seen in the sky?
Okay, Bob. In order to understand the Star of Bethlehem, we really have to think like an astrologer of 2,000 years ago. And that is, what I'm going to show you, we modern astronomers and even the astrologers wouldn't recognize this as being so important. That's what's really key to this. But to a person of 2,000 years ago who practiced astrology, this was incredibly important, unbelievably important. This program takes us back in time. And here you can see stars rising in the east. We have Venus.
That's Venus there?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
And then Saturn.
Okay.
And then over here, we can't even see it. It's the moon. It's very close to the sun. And let's just stop it at this point over here. And we have Jupiter.
And this is Jupiter.
Jupiter is really the key player here, because Jupiter in those times was the regal star. That is the star of new kings.
So Jupiter you call it the regal star. It's really a planet, but they viewed it as a star, and this was the thing that determined kingship, when a king's born, that kind of thing?
Exactly, Bob. Now what I'm going to do is just show you where this happened, though, among the stars of Aries the ram. This is key, very key to this whole interpretation. This is the first day it appears in the east as a morning star. For astrologers, this indicated that Jupiter had maximum power to create a new king. And they must have been extremely excited to see this, because we know at this time there were rumors that in Judea there was going to be the birth of a Messiah. And
because that dot, Jupiter, is in the ram, it means the king's going to be born and in Judea.
That's right. So they would go to King Herod to find what specific town would this Messiah be born in.
Now everything's lining up. You've got all these planets, stars, moon, sun, all lining up in Aries. How unusual is it? I mean, is it rare, super rare?
The essential parts here of having Saturn in Aries, Jupiter, the moon, and the sun, that was once a lifetime. That was 70 years. But you cannot ignore the other planets, and that's what's very important here. And what we have in this day is that just about all of them are collecting in Aries the ram, or they are very close. They're on either side of Aries the ram. So everything focuses on Aries the ram.
So that's almost unique, or?
Very unique, exactly, yes.
Molnar has found something no one noticed in 2,000 years. At the time of Christ's birth, something absolutely unique was happening in the skies, but you had to be a skilled astrologer to know it. The signs told you a king of kings would be born in Judea. And Molnar even has the date, April 17th, 6 BC, just around the time scholars think Jesus was born. But is there anything in the Bible that supports Molnar's date? I think there is. Our theory suggests that Jesus was really born in April, but we need more evidence. Our clue is what the Bible